From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
And thanks for joining us for the news at 7. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. Classes are in session for colleges and universities across central Indiana. But the first day of school looks different depending on the school. Butler made a last-minute decision to stick with virtual learning for the first 2 weeks of the semester. University leaders made the decision due to a lack of compliance with COVID-19 safety guidelines.
I wasn't expecting it to happen before classes even started, and I was really upset actually, since I'm a dance major, so we weren't allowed to go into the studios at all.
I would say most people have been, complying with the coronavirus, mandates that the school has put on, but we do have a few, bad eggs, bad apples.
At Purdue University, classes began in person today with strict social distancing rules, and IU Bloomington plans to randomly test hundreds of students, faculty, and staff each week to catch any possible outbreaks before they start. And as of today, more than 1 million Hoosiers have been tested for the coronavirus since the pandemic began. The State Department of Health reported an additional 5 COVID-19 deaths that took place over the weekend and 688 new positive cases. As some people like frontline workers get tested repeatedly, the Department of Health is changing the way it reports Indiana's positivity rate on its coronavirus dashboard. The 7-day positivity rate for unique individuals was 7% between August 10th and the 17th.
But some Hamilton Southeastern parents are demanding their kids be allowed to return to classrooms for in-person learning. Elementary students in the district will soon return using a hybrid model, but Hamilton Southeastern's 5th through 12th graders remain all virtual. Parents say other Hamilton County students are back in the classroom at least part-time, and they're also worried about how teachers will manage the hybrid model. Here's what Hamilton Southeastern Superintendent said in a video posted to social media.
Based on observations of other schools that are now in session, we anticipate student absences, and we want our elementary students to know that whether they are virtual or in person, their teacher is constant and that they can count on that teacher to be there for them.
Parents had planned a demonstration against virtual learning this morning, but they say they canceled out of fear of retaliation. They plan to monitor the next Hamilton Southeastern School Board meeting. It is scheduled for this Wednesday night.
What it comes down to is they're so strictly enforcing this policy without any logic, without any common sense, or even taking a step back to think about it on a case-by-case basis.
A family in Mooresville is frustrated over the state's policy when it comes to students with COVID-19 symptoms getting sent home from school. Even if those students receive a negative test result, they must isolate at home for 10 days if they don't have an alternative diagnosis. Our Nicole Griffin is finding out what parents and students need to know.
On Monday morning, 3rd grader William Denny was sent home from Newby Memorial Elementary School in Mooresville.
When I picked him up, he was coughing. I mean, it was a really deep, really strong cough. Had him take his face mask off once we're in the truck. Within a minute or less, he completely stopped coughing.
Michael Denny, William's dad, believes it was the laundry detergent and fabric softener he used to wash his mask that was causing an allergic reaction. His younger son, Bradley, who's in kindergarten, was also sent home, and both boys were tested at a Community Health Network drive-through site. Days later, the results came back negative.
I get it. If my kids were really sick, I would totally, absolutely keep them home. No questions asked. Absolutely. But because I know both my kids aren't sick, I'm frustrated.
Mooresville schools are following guidance from the State Department of Health. It states if a student has a cough, fever, or headache and the student gets tested and it's negative, there is a 30% chance of having a false negative test. Therefore, that student is required to isolate at home for at least 10 days unless they have an alternative explanation on a doctor's note.
The biggest problem that we've run into with this is that as soon as a kid is labeled as potentially having COVID symptoms, the doctor's office will not do an in-person visit.
A Community Health Network spokeswoman says symptomatic patients can be seen at their MedCheck locations, and they plan to reach out to William and Bradley's parents. The two are now concerned the problems they are dealing with now could continue to be an issue throughout the year.
As soon as the nurse at the school says, I think that it could potentially be COVID, all bets are off. They're out of school. And I mean, what about a kid that has allergies? You go out and you play recess and you come back in and you're sneezing.
Working for you in Mooresville, Nicole Griffin, WRTV.
And the district spokeswoman says the State Department of Health is looking for updated guidance from the CDC when it comes to requiring a doctor's note plus a negative test. We will keep you updated on any new developments when it comes to this guidance.
Indianapolis Public Schools is partnering with community organizations to help kids during the remote learning. The Student Support Network sites are now open on a rolling basis. Each will be open to no more than 90 students and will offer access to remote learning assistance and training, small group classroom supervision. Students can also get breakfast and lunch. Sites will adhere to the CDC, local and state COVID-19 guidelines. Masks are also required. For information on how to register, click on this story in the WRTV app.
Checking in now, Storm Team 6 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. Kevin, you could feel the heat today.
And we'll turn it up a little more tomorrow. We made it into the 90s for the first time in 27 days, I think, off the top of my head, late July. We're not there now. 86, that's our current temperature in Indianapolis. Muncie and Bloomington both at 87 degrees. We've had some showers develop in this humidity with isolated thunderstorms as well. When the dew point reaches 65, that's when you start to notice the humidity. When it gets above 70, that's working the top of the scale, and we'll have all kinds of humidity the rest of the week. That, combined with the temperature, gives you heat index values at triple-digit levels right now. In Sullivan at 100, it feels like 98 in Lafayette. You do get temporary relief if you catch a downpour. Let's take you to a couple of those, kind of twin downpours, southeast Vigo County and then west of Spencer and south of Spencer along 231. Other rain showers fading south of Shelbyville between Greensburg and Connorsville and then near Liberty. As far as now through the evening, all of this activity will settle down as the sun sets on the horizon. We'll talk about when they flare back up and the hottest temperature still to come this week, when that will be coming up.
See you soon, Kevin. Thank you. The pandemic is not just impacting our health and finances. It's affecting pets, too. COVID-19 has taken a toll on some humane societies and animal shelters in the area as need increases, but donors and fundraising efforts decrease. In Hamilton County, they're expecting a $250,000 loss this year because of it. Our Megan Sanctorum explains how the organization plans to still move forward and how you can help.
These are some of the faces of animals relying on the Humane Society for Hamilton County. Staff and volunteers are working hard to keep them happy and healthy until they find a forever home. But that's becoming increasingly difficult as donations drop.
We've seen the hits come a lot of different ways.
Overall donations are down. They've also had to cancel a major fundraising event over COVID-19 concerns. And they have to close their retail store, saying it's just not profitable anymore after having been closed for a few months and an overall decrease in shoppers. In total,
right now we're looking at about $250,000 loss.
That's money that typically would be used for operating expenses and medical care for animals.
Anytime we see someone drop off or we have to cancel an event, that's a huge hit. We have to figure out other ways to recoup that money, and it's difficult.
They're not the only shelter dealing with this. Leaders at the Humane Society in Johnson County say they're seeing the same thing.
Have to balance on that. Is it really appropriate to be asking people in this atmosphere, economic and business-wise, if they could sponsor or an event or even make a donation? I think everybody is kind of feeling that pinch.
But leaders at both say they will continue to look for alternative sources of funding. When asked what happens if they don't find it,
honestly, that's not an option. We have to figure out a way to make that happen. We have to continue to save lives and continue to do what we do.
And they're asking anyone who can help financially to do so. Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
A new facility is in the works for Hamilton County Humane Society. Leaders say the money for that has already been set aside and the project will move forward as planned. We'll have links on how you can help support both shelters at our website, WRTV.com.
Still ahead on the news at 7, with more kids returning to in-person classes, doctors are sharing what COVID-19 symptoms look like in kids.
But first, an Indianapolis native has some advice for students after he was accepted into dozens of colleges.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
An Indianapolis native is starting college after getting accepted to 65 schools across the country. After volunteering with local organizations, he has big plans for the future.
Above all else, I want to come back and give back to the community as best as I can, to pour back into everyone that poured so much into me to get me to where I am now.
Taryn Richardson, salutatorian of Charles A. Tinley Accelerated High School, will start classes at Howard University this week. Taryn applied to 70 schools and received acceptance letters from 65 of those, along with close to $3 million in scholarship offers. Even though he had his heart set on Howard, Taryn says he researched all the schools he applied for and encourages other students to keep their minds open.
You never know, it could be turn out the college that you may end up going to. And for me, it was like I did have my number one choice, which was Howard, but at the same time, I wasn't riding on them the whole time because I knew that it was possibilities that I could get a better offer or a better opportunity somewhere else. It wasn't simply just because of the college. It was what I could see myself being the most successful at and have the best outcome.
Taryn will be the first person in his family to attend college. He plans to study physics and astronomy at Howard and would like to eventually work for NASA and create his own business. Kevin.
Well, temperatures warm enough today with the humidity to pop a few showers and thunderstorms. They're widely scattered now. When they'll become more numerous, coming up.
Welcome back. There's been a 90% increase in the number of COVID-19 cases among U.S. children in the last several weeks, according to data released by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association. Mandy Geither explains how to recognize COVID-19 symptoms in kids.
As many wade through back to school, new numbers are giving some parents pause.
We've had 90 deaths in children in the U.S. already in just a few months.
Dr. Sean O'Leary, vice chair of the American Academy of Pediatrics Committee on Infectious Diseases, says the increase in COVID cases among children reflects what's happening across the country with more infections in general. He says part of it is that more children are being tested now.
I also think there probably is some element of more children are actually getting infected than they were before with increased activity, et cetera.
The American Academy of Pediatrics says at this time it appears that severe illness due to COVID-19 is rare among children, but O'Leary says it's still important to take the virus seriously. Symptoms of COVID-19 are the same in kids as they are in everyone else. Cough, shortness of breath, fever, to name a few. But pediatricians say other key signs also include any difficulty in breathing, a rash, especially one that spreads quickly, a lack of energy, and problems keeping a child awake. And doctors say no worry is too small to reach out to your pediatrician. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics says that while children represented only about 9% of all cases in the states reporting cases by age, over 380,000 children have tested positive for COVID-19 since the onset of the pandemic.
Tropical feel today. Here's the bulletin. Tropical feel all week. Although temperatures won't be as warm to end the week, the humidity will still be very high. We had our first 90s of August today. A second and third day of 90-degree temperatures are warmer on the way. As we get late week, that's when our chance for widespread thunderstorms will increase. That would be Thursday and Friday. Temperatures 91 in Sullivan, Lafayette also at 91. Richmond with some recent rain, 82 degrees. Bedford and Bloomington both at 87. Okay, this is the current radar. Southeast of Terre Haute, southwest of Spencer, some rain, and then over toward Richmond. This activity by 9 o'clock diminishes quite a bit. By 11, it's gone. Once we lose the afternoon heating, then it loses all support to sustain any rain or thunderstorms. Temperatures, they're not cooling off much for the next 4 mornings. Plan on waking up to temperatures in the 70s. We'll still be after midnight in the mid-70s. There's your overnight low. Dry tomorrow with the exception of northeast Indiana. You'll see that in a second. Temperatures are the warmest tomorrow Still hot Wednesday, then they start working their way back to average. 93 degrees in Indianapolis tomorrow. That's forecast high. Warmest we've had this summer's 94. There's the line, kind of squiggly, but all in the very humid category until we get late in the weekend. Tomorrow could have a stronger storm in northeast Indiana. As I put this in motion, they drop out of Michigan and kind of cut through northeast Indiana. Question is, will some of the model runs start to show that coming more to the south? Right now, they've been pretty consistent about keeping it out of the RTV6 viewing area. Keep our eye on that, and Todd will have the latest first thing in the morning. What we're definitely counting on, temperatures low to mid 90s through the day tomorrow. This is how we warm up hour by hour. Temperatures peaking in that 4 to 6 time frame. As you move to Wednesday, temperatures at 90 degrees to the north, lower 90s in central Indiana with lots of sunshine around. Again, the more widespread thunderstorm threat arrives as we get to Thursday. Scattered thunderstorms Thursday, again on Friday. Whereas overnight lows the next 4 mornings will be in the 70s, there's a real shot Sunday morning, Monday morning, outlying areas will be in the 50s for overnight lows. Right now I've got Indy right around 60 degrees. So summer warmth for you, and those that don't want it have cooler temperatures as well.
A little bit of mix of everything. Thanks, Kevin. It's a scam you may not pick up on until money starts leaving your bank accounts. Tim Maniscalco with the Better Business Bureau has more on the stealthy way some criminals are trying to steal from you.
Yeah, this is called synthetic ID theft, and it's a new twist on stealing your identity. Here's how it works. The scammers, they're going to get a stolen or somehow get a social security number, and then what they're going to do is they're going to put an address on there that's an abandoned property, and they're going to put someone else's name, someone else's birth date, all that sort of stuff on the profile, and they're going to apply for credit. Now, what's going to happen is they're actually going to get denied the first time, and they know that, but that's going to actually create a report with the credit bureaus. What they're going to do then is they're going to attach that name to some legitimate accounts, and they're going to start charging some charges and things like that. But what happens is they're going to start building up a credit history with that kind of false synthetic account. Then at some point, they're going to have a good enough credit history that they will actually then start to charge lots and lots of money. They won't pay for any of this, obviously. And the credit card companies then are going to start backtracking, seeing, hey, who is this person? What is it? That type of thing. They're eventually going to track it back to that social security number that was original. And you, as the consumer, if that's your social security number, you may never even know this is happening until the bank comes to you and says, hey, you owe us a bunch of money. Because it's not your name on that credit card, it's not your name on that profile. They just created an entirely false synthetic sort of profile. So this is really, really hard for the consumer to detect until, really all the damage is done. So the bottom line here is you just want to be very, very careful about giving out your social security number. Only give that out to places that you know are going to be using it legitimately, and that you actually have to do that. But this is a real twist that the scammers have got out there now. This is called synthetic ID theft. And once again, it's hard to detect out there. So just be very, very careful with your social security number, because it can be used in a lot of different ways, and you may never know that it's being used to create a synthetic account.
And you can find out more about this scam and others targeting your money at bbb.org. We'll be right back.
And I thought I'd point out, late week, the tropical remnants from what will be Hurricane Laura should move along and south of the Ohio River. That's the current track, but our rain chances increase along with that Thursday and Friday. Amanda?
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Our next newscast is tonight at 11. We'll see you then. Have a great evening.